Welcome back to another gaming podcast, Minisode edition, Halo ODST, or Halo 3 ODST. Doomwaves, aka Chance, here with you to talk about this wonderful game, and joining me is, of course, co-host Dustin Christ. What's going on?
Not much. Steven wanted to join us for this, but he's a little under the weather right now, but this will give him something to listen to as he's healing up, so...
Nice surprise for him, I guess.
Yes.
We're all three pretty familiar with this game. I actually just beat it. I think it was like on the 30th, something like that, last week.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I am extremely blown away by this game. And it's not just because I'm a Halo fanboy, but I really think that this game has a lot more to offer than the standard Halo fare, which is also amazing, but I think that this is a really nice game and a really nice kind of a break from the Halo proper series. What do you think?
Yeah, like Steve and I have been talking about this game for a long time and always saying it's our favorite Halo, and for me it still is my favorite Halo, just because at one point it's completely familiar, but on another level, it's something totally unique, and a lot of people did not like the game. And when people talk about Halo, usually it's not very well received. You know, they talk about liking, the other games a lot more because the game is so different. You know, you're not playing as the Master Chief. You're significantly weaker, and the gameplay is a lot different. It's more of like a stealth-based game than the normal run and shoot, with the Master Chief. So, it's one of those games. I think it's kind of like the Wind Waker in a lot of ways. When it first came out, people were like, "I don't fucking want this. I want nothing to do with this." And then as the years have passed, people are like, "No, that was really awesome. That was a really good experience." So, I'm glad you finally got the chance to play it and confirmed the fact that Steven and I just weren't blowing smoke up everyone's ass about how good the game actually is.
Yeah, it really is fantastic, and I think it's just the atmosphere that it creates. Too, like the music is completely different than anything that's ever been in a Halo game, but like you said, there's like parts of it that are extremely familiar, but then you also then it cuts back to these other sections where it is like a stealth-based game, and one of the big things I think that contributed to that stealthiness, where it changed, was that there's no radar. You don't see the enemies on the little red dot radar anymore. It's not like that. But what you do have is this visor that creates like a HUD display, basically, that will outline enemies in red as you see them. So it requires everything to be line of sight. Like, you have to see where the enemy is instead of just knowing that he's around the corner because you saw it on the radar. Yeah. So it requires you to be a little bit more conscious of that. And I don't know about the harder difficulties. I didn't really have much of a problem with ammunition, but what I did have a problem with was ammunition with my own gun. I always ended up picking up Covenant, the plasma rifle or something else, the needler or the spiker, something else. Like, I rarely had my gun, but the ODST specific assault rifle, the silenced assault rifle, was awesome. I really loved that gun.
That's what I wanted to bring up. Like, this is the first Halo game with silenced weapons, and whenever you get a silenced weapon, you're like, fucking yes.
It changes things.
It
really changes things.
Yeah, because you can sit there and pick off the grunts and kind of still survive without, alerting the brutes and everything. So it really,
The jackals were actually more of a problem for me because they would be up high and they would have like these, like the carbine rifles and stuff. So to be able to shoot them at a distance, up high and get them out of the way so you could actually fight the brutes, without actually getting shot from three sides was nice.
The enemy I hated the most were the flying ones that gave everybody else shields.
Yeah, the new alien that I can't remember what they called it. Like, I think they call them squids or something like that.
Yeah, because once you saw one of those, you'd be trying to focus on it, and that's how I'd run out of a lot of ammo. So
and they took like 1,000 shots.
Yeah.
They were tough.
But just I think the big thing about the game as well that makes it me love it is that it feels open world. You can really
Yeah,
tackle the game in any way you want to, and I think that's what threw a lot of people off because they're used to like the linear big sort of firefights and things
yeah,
like that, and this is really about sneaking through this town and trying to piece together a mystery, and that's where like the whole it being dark and rainy,
yeah.
and
Like the noir.
the noir, soundtrack and just the atmosphere of it. I really wish they'd make another ODST.
I too.
You know, I don't think we're going to get that. And hey, if we got an ODST 2, I might look into getting an Xbox. That might be enough to get me.
Wow.
Halo 5, I can probably live without due to Destiny, but ODST 2, eventually I would
Yeah.
get an Xbox to play that game.
Yeah, and we'll kind of back up a little bit and kind of set you up with a little bit of the story without giving too many spoilers away. But you play as an ODST, and I think it's Orbital Drop Shock Trooper,
Yep.
and your squad is dispatched, and on the way down something goes wrong. And you end up,
They're dispatched to New Mubasa, which was
yes,
a stage in Halo 2. So you're playing after the events on Earth in Halo 2. So you're kind of the cleanup squad.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of Covenant that shouldn't be there that are there. And I like the way that the game kind of sets up the setting. Like as soon as you put the disc in, it just gives you like a little bit of text and some music, and it sets up the story for you really well. And it basically says, we're in a war with the Covenant, we're losing. This is the first major attack on Earth, and then it tells you a little bit about the ODST, what it is. And so you're dispatched. Something goes wrong on the way down, and your entire group gets separated. So you start off this game low ammunition and alone, and you're set out to try and find your squad mates. And along the way, too, this was actually one of my favorite things about this game was just like you said, like the open worldness of it, and it really kind of urged you to explore and find these audio logs too. And the audio logs set up a whole nother story, at the same time. Like, so you would go and you would get these audio logs and you would listen to them and listen to the story. This story takes place during the invasion. So like you get like a human perspective, a non-soldier perspective.
Oh, I remember that now. Isn't that the story about the girl trying to get across the city? Yeah, I remember that now. That was so awesome.
Yeah, it really was. And I was actually really bummed when the game ended because I hadn't found all of the audio logs. I only found about half of them. So, like, I really want to go back now and look for all the rest of these audio logs just so I can hear the rest of the story because it was actually really, really nice. I really liked the story.
Isn't it kind of a continuation of the comic books? Like,
see, I haven't read the comics.
I want to say there was like Halo Uprising or something like that where it talks about the invasion of New Mubasa. And
Yeah.
I want to say it had something to do with that, but I could be completely wrong.
Well,
I think it tied into Halo 3 somehow.
It's like the mayor's daughter, like the mayor of New Mombasa daughter, and then her is trying to escape, and then she gets. Well, I don't want to spare any spoilers really, but it was just really really nice and too you could listen to it while you were like walking around and even fighting too, and it like wouldn't cut into it. Like you'd still be listening to this story as you were fighting brutes and and whatnot. There was no elites in this game. I did notice that. So it kind of gives you the timeline. Is when the elites and the brutes were fighting each other.
Yeah.
So I really had a lot of fun with this game. Like I was not expecting it to be as good as it was. And one downside, I guess I could say, was that it was really short.
Yeah.
Like I was really kind of bummed when it ended.
Well, that's the thing. Like, if you put it on Legendary, it's such a fight to get across that city that it really lengthens the game because, in Legendary and other Halo games, it really wasn't until you got a big group of elites that it took a long time to get through. But this, it's like every inch of terrain you're fighting is like a major, major battle because the ODST troop's not as strong as, Master Chief. He's not as kitted out as Master Chief, so...
Yeah. They're not Spartans.
They're not Spartans, yeah.
Just soldiers.
But, yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's just such a weird game because, you have that open worldness, that sense of exploration. You have this really just drippingly atmospheric soundtrack. And I think that's one of the big things that when I was playing it really kind of drew me in was the fact that what was his name, Marty O'Donnell. You
I'm
know,
not sure.
he makes very big bombastic scores for the original Halo games, and to have sort of a jazz-ish noir soundtrack in a first-person shooter is very very unique. I don't know of a lot of other shooters that would take that route, because I don't know. Maybe the reason why ODST, now that I think about it, got such a bum rap is because it didn't have like a new multiplayer. And I know a lot of
Yeah,
people get like really up in arms about that. It came packaged with Halo 3's multiplayer.
yeah,
And a lot of people, if it doesn't have a new multiplayer, it's not a real game. So, it really was just a single player campaign experience. And maybe that's why a lot of people don't like it, is because shooters have gone such a multiplayer. It's almost like the multiplayer is more important than the campaign.
yeah.
And all ODST is just a rock solid, awesome campaign.
Yeah, and for me, I can honestly say when I first bought this game a few years ago, I did buy it simply because, oh, a new Halo, or a different multiplayer. It was, this was before Halo 4 came out, but well after Reach. So I bought it thinking that it was going to be a new multiplayer. I put the disc in, the multiplayer disc, and sure enough, it booted up the Halo 3 multiplayer, and I still had my same rank and all that stuff, and I was just confused. I was like, okay, what's the deal here?
Well, the title did say Halo 3 ODST.
Yeah, of course, yeah, but I'm not that smart. So
was this the first one that had Firefight in it?
I think so, because it actually makes kind of a big deal about Firefight. Like, you can, if you play it on like the higher difficulties, you unlock things to do in Firefight.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
like
think
new
it is the
armor
first
and
one.
things like that.
Yeah, I think it is the first Firefight, which is enjoyable. I do like
I sunk a
Firefight.
lot of hours in the Firefight.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's a lot of fun. But I had no desire to play the campaign, at that point. So I, traded it in for like $1 or whatever the going rate is,
Oh.
and I rebought it just this year actually, and I ended up spending like $15 on it still.
Yeah.
It kind of is one of those games that's even at GameStop, who sells 360 games and other PS3 games for dirt cheap. This one was still kind of on the expensive side for a used game,
So,
especially one as old as it is.
yeah, how much was Reach comparatively?
Oh, I don't know. Probably about the same.
Okay.
I don't really recall.
Because that'd be weird if like ODST was like the expensive one out of all the Halo games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it would be weird, but I mean, I could see it happening. It's definitely one of the Halos, or the only Halo that's got a quote cult following.
Yeah.
Whereas the rest of them, everybody loves. Everybody that likes Halo or has played Halo, they're a fan of it. And then the smaller, the minority of it would be the fans that really liked ODST. I would still rank it as my second favorite behind 4, because I really liked 4, the story of 4, and I do like multiplayer. So that's what it had going for it. And for me, it's like, I can honestly say, looking back now too, I've tried to go back and play the multiplayer on Halo 3 compared to 4, and it sucks to me. Like, I really like what 343 did with the multiplayer. So
Well, I think when 3 came out, a lot of people disliked the multiplayer just in general. Like they thought 2 was better.
yeah, I agree now. I loved 3 multiplayer when it came out because it was my personal first experience with Xbox Live, like actually getting to play with other people that weren't in the same room as me. So of course I had, it had that going for it. But looking back, definitely, I would say 1 and 2 are better than 3. I loved the multiplayer on Halo 1. I played that for hours and hours and hours and hours. But yeah, so definitely you're absolutely right about ODST getting kind of the bum rap because of the lack of new multiplayer.
And me not being a big multiplayer person, I think that's probably why I gravitate towards ODST so much, is because just from start to finish, Halo has a great storyline.
Yeah.
And you look at the Halo trilogy, 1 through 3, it's kind of Lord of the Rings. Well, ODST is just like this little tiny side story. But for some reason, everyone made kind of a big deal when Reach came out, and kind of how impressive story it was, because it really talked about sacrifice and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know. I really just find myself thinking back to ODST a lot, and like we were talking about before we started recording, it's one that I'm actually thinking about revisiting. And I don't think I've ever. I've played Combat Evolved multiple times, and I've gone through like the rest of the games multiple times. You play first on normal, then you go to heroic, then you go to legendary, just do that kind of thing. But years after playing the game, I don't ever really put them back in. But ODST is one that right now I'm sitting here thinking, man, I really kind of want to go back in and re-explore that.
Yeah, it's just a really really solid campaign, and it's just, and I've mentioned this before to you guys. I feel personally that it's kind of unfair to judge it next to the rest of the Halo games because it is so different. It's not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean it's not.
It's almost
in
more of an
series.
adventure game.
Yeah, definitely. It's one that I think that anybody who's a fan of Halo that hasn't tried should try, because it is a fun game. And even people that maybe are not as into the Halo series, maybe this one will be the one that they enjoy. Like, because it's just a little bit more and a little, realistic in a way, and less like Halo, the superhumanness of it.
Yeah.
You don't jump, 10 feet in the air. You're not 7 feet tall.
You can't melee something that, with one hit.
Yeah, it takes quite a bit of one cool thing I noticed, like, I felt a little bit of BioShock in some of the combat, because sometimes you really did have to get close, and pop a few rounds and then do a melee and back up and shoot them again. I really felt like you had to do that, and that's the wrench, shock wrench kind of thing from BioShock. So that's a reason that you like it so well too. Is just
I do remember like lowering shields and then running up and meleeing really fast and trying to get like a bunch of strikes in before.
Well, and the brutes, like with the way that they fight, like sometimes when you hit them and their shield goes down, then they sit there and yell at you for a second. So you've got like an extra moment to get in that extra jab, and then they'll usually go down after that. So.
Yeah. And I think this is one of the games too where it really, like, grenades are just gold in that game. Like, more so than any other Halo game or any other first-person shooter really that I've played. Like, you covet those grenades and you hold those things out until like the last minute, because they're so like few and far between, it seems.
Yeah.
But we're also kind of missing something here. This game introduced something, I believe for the first time. I believe it was the first time that was in this game, that was kind of rumored around the Halo universe for a long time before it actually appeared, and that was the Mongoose, the little ATV that you get to drive around.
Oh yeah. I did forget about that.
Because when you get to those story points and like you check your map and like, it's so far across that map. Like, if you were to trek that, it would take forever. But then you get on this little mongoose, and I don't know, there was just something about the mongoose. It didn't work, and like, I never felt like the mongoose worked in other Halo games.
Yeah, this was the only practical application of it.
Yeah. I felt like every other game, it was just kind of forced in because, it was in the last one. But there actually was like it did feel really great. And we also need to kind of talk about the difference of the gameplay, because if you're a fan of the old school Halo, there are points in the game that actually feel like the old Halo games.
Yeah.
When you find like the storyline backstory, when you find the missing team members' helmets and they have the memory chips and things like that in them, and you get to go back and play what they experience in the town, it plays like classic Halo with the tanks and the big huge battles. So it really does have something for everyone, but I always kind of go back to that sneaking around the town and just having that somber music playing, going into a building and going down a dark corridor, and then all of a sudden you hear a brute down there and you're like, shit. I've never had that white knuckle like fear in a Halo game before.
Yeah, it was definitely different too. Like to have to go through the buildings just to get to the other side too. And like it has the token warthog scene, where you have to drive
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I liked that too because you could just see like at one point your character, unnamed, voiceless character, picks up like a sniper rifle that the barrel has been completely bent backwards, and you could just see him like looking up and pondering like, well, how the hell did this happen? And then at that moment, then it goes to he flashes back to the scene where that happened, and you play out that scene as those characters, and the other members seem to find each other a lot faster than you can find anyone, and it does give you like a timestamp. Like when you first wake up and get out of your pod, it says, the rookie 6 hours after launch. After the landing, 6 hours after the crash, and then as you progress, it'll give you, it'll say 3 hours after the crash as you're playing as someone else. And I don't remember any of the specific names. I want to say there's 3 other playable characters that you play as at different sections, and then there is your captain, but you never play as her. She's just there.
We should talk about the voice acting too, because there's a lot of, I think even more so in other Halo games, there's a lot of really famous actors doing the voice work.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like Nathan Fillion is doing one of the voices. Tricia Heffler from Battlestar Galactica, I believe, is your commanding officer in that.
I'm gonna Wikipedia it right now.
Yeah, go ahead, because I believe there's a lot of the Firefly cast and the Battlestar Galactica cast in the voice acting roles in that game. And usually, I mean, like in the older Halo games, you'd be running along and there'd be like just a nameless Marine, and it'd be like David Cross, yelling a line or something. They'd had cameos like that before, but I think this was the first time that like the actual named characters in the game were voiced by big name actors.
I'm looking it up still. I can't seem to find it on the Wikipedia, so I'm just gonna word it differently.
Oh, just yeah, that's fine.
I'm just cast ODST cast.
ODST voice actors. Why don't you just type that in on IMDb?
Okay, Nathan Fillion, Tricia Heffler or Helfer, Adam Baldwin plays Dutch.
Alan Tudyk. So right there, you got 3
Nolan
Firefly.
North.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. Interesting. I didn't really even think about that. I was just kind of listening.
I just remember that because at the time that it came out, I believe Battlestar Mania was going on, and I was like, "Holy crap, that's Tricia Heffler!" And then I heard like about that time, I think, is when the I don't remember if that's when the Firefly DVDs came out. They came out earlier, but I remember around that time I was really watching the Firefly DVDs a lot, and I was like, "Holy crap! There's Jane, there's Wash, there's Mao, So, it was really kind of an awesome thing to, because I don't think any of the other Halo games really did that.
Well, really, in the other Halo games, there was probably only, I don't know, 2 or 3 per game, that actually talked and, did a lot, had a lot to do with, other than, some of these other nameless soldiers. I mean, you had your chief in Cortana, and then I can't remember who your captain guy was, the real gruff-sounding Carl Weathers type guy.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't remember his name in the game. And, there just wasn't like a ton of other
the Arbiter
actors.
The Arbiter was a big name guy. I want to say Keith David. Was he the Arbiter? Was he the Arbiter?
I'm looking it up. That was in 2.
That was Halo 2. Yeah.
Voice actor. Somebody's looked it up before. Yeah, Keith David.
Yep.
Very cool.
So,
brilliant game. That's at the very core of it. I really think that this is and you'll agree and have said this before I played the game, it's really kind of an overlooked game, but it is not one to pass.
Yeah,
it's seriously awesome.
And we're getting into that point where the next generation's coming out. Everyone's looking towards the next generation. And I think a lot of people are going to start, before GameStop starts, getting rid of their inventory, people are going to be going out to get all these old classics that they miss. in the previous generation. And I really think ODST is one of those ones that people, even if you played it and you didn't like it at the time, for whatever reason, it's probably you said you got it for like what, 15?
Yeah, something like pretty cheap, but
So it's
not
pretty
not dirt cheap, but
right. But it's one of those games I think people should kind of go back to and maybe try again, and because as you get older, your tastes kind of change, and at the time it might not have been the big firefight game that you wanted, especially after Halo 3 came out. But now as an older gamer, it might really suit your tastes a lot better and things like that. So. And
I think too, if you remove yourself from Halo just a little bit too, because when it came out, on sandwiched between Halo 3 and Halo Reach, and then shortly thereafter, Halo 4. I mean, there was just tons and tons of Halo content out there to play. And I think if you remove yourself a little bit from Halo and then kind of go backwards a little bit and play this one, I think you'll find it to be, really a pleasant surprise and a really nice game. I want to say it's, the campaign is beatable in, 5 to 6, 7 hours, something like that. Pretty short, all things considered, but still really worth playing. It's not necessary to play it, like in order. Like you don't have to play ODST right after Halo 3 if you don't want to. You can just wait. Like I played it after Halo 4, so it really makes no difference because it really sets you up really well.
Yeah. There's something else I was going. Shit, I lost it. I was gonna make a joke about screw Halo. You guys should play Ghosts because someone's probably gonna post. Oh, you guys should play Ghosts. Talk about Halo ODST. Game's crap.
One other thing I forgot to mention when you mentioned the map, that was a cool thing too because like you don't have a radar, but you do have a map.
Yeah.
And you can actually put waypoints on the map. Like it's only one at a time, but like if you wanted to go to like where there's this ammunition locker over this way, you could set the waypoint to go, so your little compass will guide you there instead of to, the next plot point, waypoint thing.
I remember sometimes being confused by that map because doesn't it have like a kind of a weird 3D perspective?
Yeah, it doesn't have like, unless you zoom in, you can't really see like the topography, but the buildings and stuff do show up really weird on there.
Because I remember like, okay, I gotta get over there, and it's like it looks like it's a straight line to get there, but you have to like do this huge U around the city.
Well, and unless you find like one of those points where you can actually go through a building, to get through. And that was the other thing, like there was like these big doors. Like seemed like every block there was these big doors, and like some of them were always unlocked, but then other ones only unlock as you progress through the game. So by the time you're done with the kind of stealthy run through the city, most of the doors are unlocked, so you can kind of get from A to B a little bit faster. And like those mongooses. Is that mongooses? I don't know. Mongai. They're in like these ammo lockers, so you actually had to like look on the map to see, where the closest one was.
The little garages, yeah.
Yeah, so you can actually go there and restock on ammunition, and it had some grenades and stuff in there too, and then you could get on the mongoose to go to your next point. And what I found myself doing sometimes too was when I did get to these sections where I had these big battles, I would put my map waypoint at my mongoose, and then I would go, and stealth around and try and fight, without dying, and then I could go back to immediately, where my mongoose was without actually having to look for it for a really long time. So that was kind of a cool addition. Was you could, take it piece by piece with the waypoints, and you wouldn't have to just go all over the place, not knowing for sure if you were going the right way.
Now that I think about it, what the game really reminds me of in a lot of ways?
What's that?
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner?
Yeah. Have you ever seen Blade Runner?
Yeah. It kind of does. Like, it's got that same kind of vibe.
Yeah. Like
not as weird as Blade Runner.
The future, but like the future noir and like the soundtrack and I don't know, just the feel of it. Kind of I'm sure like Deus Ex probably feels a lot more like Blade Runner than this, but it does kind of remind me of like maybe Blade Runner was one of the inspirations.
I get that.
Like,
Yeah, I get that. Like just the dark city and then the lights and the
which
rain.
find a science fiction movie today that wasn't influenced by Blade Runner. I dare
No
you.
kidding. That's a good movie though.
Yeah.
Speaking of good movies, I did pick up Dune today, so I'm gonna watch that.
Well, I don't know about good movies.
Well, I just figured you're a huge fan of Dune,
Yeah.
so.
Well, the David Lynch movie kind of captures the spirit of the
Uh-huh.
book, whereas the Sci-Fi Channel miniseries kind of captures the accuracy of the text.
Okay, well, this is the David Lynch movie, so.
Yeah, so if you can combine those two somehow, it's kind of like Red Dragon and oh shit, what was it? Oh, Manhunter. Is that right? Was it called Manhunter? Yeah, I think it was called Manhunter. The original Hannibal Lecter movie that had Brian Cox as Hannibal Lecter for Silence of the Lambs.
I haven't seen that one. I have seen Red Dragon though, and of the standard trilogy, that's my favorite one.
But yeah.
That's a different topic.
That's a different topic. Yeah, we're getting off topic. But anyway, yeah, ODST, easily my favorite Halo, just because it took the series in a very unexpected direction, and it kind of showed balls, because at that point in time, Halo was a huge franchise, and to release something that was so different, it was kind of a sharp left turn, and a lot of people got thrown off the road, but it just, I don't know, for some reason it just really hit me, and I really enjoyed that game, and even as much as I enjoyed Halo 4, it still didn't have that, that overbearing sense of atmosphere and almost kind of dread, because you are so not outnumbered, but you're just so at a disadvantage in that game, and you really have to think. Like, you look down at your ammunition, you're like, oh crap, I only got like 13 shots in this. Is it really worth it, or can I try to find a way around?
Yeah. Well, and I would say too, as enjoyable as the ODST story was, I still think that like Halo 4 was a lot more story driven, and so you don't notice as much, about the game. It looks gorgeous. I mean, it is a beautiful game, Halo 4, but you're paying a lot more attention to like the conversations that are going on between Chief and Cortana, and how kind of crazy she's going, and it's just really moving. It's a moving story. It's a really great game, and ODST was just quite a bit more about the atmosphere and the experience, and then an added layer of the story, the main story, and then also the story within the audio logs. So,
do you think that maybe Halo 4 almost had a little too much story?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
I loved it, but I guarantee I'm going to have to play it again to fully comprehend what happened.
Yeah.
Because it's like there's that one scene towards the middle where you're actually speaking with I can't remember. Was she one of the Forerunners? The architect, maybe? Was it the architect?
I know who you're talking about, but it's been a while since
I can't remember. I can't remember her character's name or her title or whatever. But she's basically telling you what's going on. Basically catching you up on basically everything, basically. And so therefore, it's really hard to take in because she's telling you so much.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, I don't understand all of this. And I played it co-op for most of the game, and as goes with the territory, playing co-op, you tend to pay a little bit less attention to maybe story points and a little bit more about let's go, get on with it, so you can actually just go kill things together, and maybe having another conversation as it's going on. Which,
play an MMO with Steven sometime.
Yeah, I can imagine. But so yeah, because I played co-op, I also paid a little bit less attention to the story, but I got the end of it, and it's a really, really good ending, I think. But I cannot wait to see where it goes from here. So I will be buying an Xbox One eventually.
It's going to go to Halo 4 ODST.
Well, let's hope. Let's hope. I can only hope.
We're never going to see ODST ever again, and maybe that's a good thing, because it really keeps that game kind of unique.
Yeah, I still really wish that they would, though, or at least a Halo 2 Anniversary Edition. I would totally buy that.
Yeah,
like 343 did with Combat Evolved. do the same thing with Halo 2.
Yeah, because
And
2 was really graphically. I mean, there was so much pop in,
yeah,
so much texture pop in that it was just it was almost. I don't know. It's hard to look at sometimes.
yeah, I really liked Halo 2. I would say that it's probably at the bottom of my list, but that's not really like fair to say because it's the least of the Halo games. But I mean, it's still a really good game.
I don't know. I think Reach was the least.
I say I really liked Reach. I mean, I don't like Reach as I liked Reach probably more than Halo 3 and Halo 2. I would say Combat Evolved is still up there. 4 is the best. It's probably 4 ODST and then 1 for me. Like
I remember the first time I played Halo, and I was like, "Holy shit! I'm playing Starship Troopers." It felt like I was playing Starship Troopers because the guns in Starship Troopers are just you never run out of ammo, and it really reminded me a lot of the assault rifle.
Yeah. Halo 1 is such a great game, and what a way to sell a console. I mean, think about how many people bought an original Xbox just to play Halo 1.
And back in the day, kids, we had to do it the hard way. You had to bring a TV and an Xbox, and you had to have somebody with a huge basement.
Yep. I can remember doing that. And you had these small-ass televisions when people playing, like, 4-way split screen on one TV. Your play screen was, like, 7 inches.
Yeah.
And
you this is the awesome thing about it is you'd grenade somebody, and then clear across the house, you'd hear, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. Oh, man. Good times.
That can't be replicated in online gameplay.
Well, the screaming still happens, but
unless
they have an icon, you can't hear it. But it's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same when you have people sitting around you going,
Yeah. And they come and punch you on the shoulder a little bit later.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was definitely some good times. And I had never had an experience, where I played games with other people like that. It was always just 2-player on one TV, and that was it until I got an Xbox.
Yeah.
So yeah. I guess we're about done.
Yep, we're about at 40 minutes, and that's usually where we cut off these minisodes. So
I think we've talked about everything we need to talk about. Yeah. Relatively spoiler-free.
Yeah.
Definitely play ODST.
It's one of the missing gems of the last generation. People just kind of passed over it, and now's the time to rediscover it because, like you said, it's not a long game. Set your difficulty wherever you want. It could be as challenging as you want it to. I suggest playing it in Legendary at least once just to really get that white knuckles sense of dread.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and play it again because it's short enough, and like I said, I do want to collect, all of the audio logs just to hear the rest of the story, and I'll definitely bump it up a little bit so I can definitely get more of the experience because it's a brilliant game.
Yeah, you'll be surprised at how little you actually fight when you play Legendary.
Yeah,
it completely turns it into a stealth game.
Well, I'm normally not a huge fan of stealth, but we'll give this one a go.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we want to thank you all for watching this episode. We have hopefully we're planning on doing more of this type of stuff, minisodes and things of that nature, and also more just normal episodes if we can, get off our lazy asses and do it. So hopefully this channel will become a lot more active in 2014. But
definitely.
Yeah, I want to thank you guys all so much for listening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.